to Let's Talk Pure Ideas. I'm Katia Douglas, the Commercial Director of Pure Ideas, and I'm very pleased to welcome to our podcast today, Jen Goodwin. Welcome, Jen.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Really pleased to have you. Jen, for the listeners, is a solicitor who specialises in corporate law and works for the firm Myers Co, based in Staffordshire. So, Jen, what I'd really like to do today, if that's okay, I'd like to talk all things Myers Co and how that dovetails into some of the things that Pure Ideas does. But can you start by telling me a little bit about your particular career, what led you into law, and how did you end up at Myers, please?
Absolutely, not a problem. Like with most things that I do in life, I did everything kind of back to front. So I actually worked in-house for quite a while for a large telecoms company based in Cheshire. But my dream was really to always be, I always wanted to be a corporate lawyer. You know, I converted my English degree by doing the GDL and then did the LPC. I did all that part-time while I was working. And I just knew that I needed to get myself to private practice, you know. That's basically what I needed. That's what I wanted to do and that's what I dreamed of doing. So I was very lucky enough to get a training contract. As we know, they're always very difficult to get. Certainly was in my day of trying to find one. And ended up in Lancashire, and I relocated to Lancashire working for a firm that was Manchester, Lancashire based for years. Always knew I wanted to do business. It was always business and corporate for me. It's just what fascinates me, what interests me. And then I'm trying to remember now, 2021, I think it was, I joined Jackson Lees, which is part of MAT Group. Worked for them for a period of time and then came across to Myers, which is again as part of the MAT Group, in March of this year to head up their corporate team. So I am now head of corporate associate director at Myers Co. And that was a very kind of whistle-stop tour a bit about me.
But quite a responsibility you have there. So you're responsible for sort of growing that department within Myers, are you?
Yeah, I mean, so Myers, just kind of give you a bit of background on Myers. So Myers was established in 2005 by Steve Myers. He basically bought a firm called Heaton's that was really well established in these parts in Staffordshire. He then sold to MAT Group in 2022 and retired at the end of, I think it was the end of that year. And then Tim Newsom took over as MD of Myers in Jan, I think, of this year. I think I've got that right. Apologies if I haven't. I'm not sure if it was 2023, 2024. And basically Myers do absolutely everything apart from immigration and crime. So we kind of do most things really well known for kind of conveyancing, the private client side of things, so conveyancing, wills and probate. Got a large litigation team here, but we haven't really had an established corporate team just because of changes that have been made, etc. So I've been brought in to basically grow that kind of business side of things and to grow that corporate offering, which is why I'm here, basically, to grow the team.
Yes, and why we've spoken before, because there are sort of areas of touch points, aren't there, with what you do and some of the clients that we deal with. So yes, I can see that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the great thing about being part of the same group, isn't it? Just, I mean, you can actually have those conversations. You've got that if you don't know somebody with that expertise that you can pick up the phone to and have a conversation. That's basically the power of being part of this group, which is obviously fantastic.
I mean, as we've talked, for any listeners who've listened to our previous podcasts, Pure Ideas are part of the MAT Group, MAT standing for Making a Positive Difference, and Myers are also part of that same group. So it's a collection of, for want of a better description, a collection of law firms and IP firms within that group. And I agree with you, Jen. You know, we all try to assist each other with, where we don't have the expertise, we pass that expertise on, really to give customers or clients the best possible customer journey so that they're not having to sort of scrabble around and find the answers from somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think there is that client expectation now, Katia, as well, that, people want a one-stop shop for things. They want to go to, they want to be able to talk to you and know that actually, okay, you might not know the answer, but there's going to be somebody within that group that does, and that's the beauty of it. You know what I mean? That, like I say, we can pick up the phone and we know we can can kind of give that kind of full level service to every client. So it's great. It's great from that respect. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. And I think with particularly with SMEs, and I know you'll have a lot of experience with SMEs as we do in our business, there's a lot of different needs and expectations from those clients, because, you know, every client is different and every sort of need or expectation is different. And I think that's where, you know, I'm quite sure in your role you have to deal with that a lot. Just tell me a little bit more about sort of the kind of profile of your sort of client base.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, our clients are often kind of director shareholders in a family-run business. I mean, I've been in the family for years and years, and you know, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that, and they do need. It's a bit like, you know, having a trusted accountant. I like to think that we are a similar type of advisor. Like, I would always expect my clients to feel completely comfortable with picking up the phone to me and asking me. There's no such thing as a daft question. And I think I've got those relationships with my clients where they know there isn't this clock running, and they know they can phone me and say, Jen, what do you think about this? What's your opinion on that? And I would always prefer that than them to get themselves further down the line somewhere and then get themselves in a whole heap of trouble. Do you know what I mean? And then you kind of firefighting, you know, from a litigation point of view, etc., which we all know is very time consuming and costly. So I like to think of myself as this kind of advisor. I think, you know, when any client instructs me, it is that direct kind of service for me. So they have my mobile number, you know, they have that direct contact, because in fact they're instructing me to do a job for them. And I think a lot of those clients, that kind of expectation is that you will be available. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're buying or selling a house or buying or selling a business. People want to know that you can pick up the phone and speak to a human being. And I think that's really, really important. On the corporate side of things, there is those clients that, you know, don't look for that personal level of service. So what I mean is they would prefer to have a larger firm, you know, with a team of 20 lawyers, or, you know, going back to, I think, about being an SME or a family-owned business. You know, we're not that. And yeah, you know, to be honest, we're not trying to be that. That's not it. It's kind of, I always say, you know, our clients, it's a given that they think, well, you're a lawyer, you should know the law. But I think they're looking for, from a corporate lawyer, and you probably get some of the IP side of things as well, they want that kind of commercial business knowledge. It's a different thing, you know. Like I say, it's a given that you've got the legal knowledge. You should have that, you know. Everybody went to uni, college, whatever. That's already there. That's a box that's ticked. It's about having that kind of commercial know-how and coming up with solutions and understanding business. That is the difference, I suppose, in regard to kind of what I do and what I wanted to live in. I think by working in house for years, like I did, that kind of is a, you know, I'm used to being in a boardroom and having CEO and a board and everybody around me, and being able to kind of hold my own in that scenario, because I've been in that situation, you know, like I say, from being in house. So I do have that kind of commercial know-how behind me. I suppose corporate lawyers can get a bad rep, you know. A lot of people, it can be kind of, it's all about the argument. And actually, when we think about trying to get a deal over the line, it shouldn't really be about the argument or the ego, because ultimately you should be able to talk to your clients in a language that they understand, let them understand any kind of potential risks, do you know what I mean, they're involved in doing that deal. And then it's entirely up to them. You know, they are savvy business people, and as such they should be respected. Just, I mean, our job is to say, you know, kind of give them the warts and all, if you like, of the scenario, or come up with some kind of solutions. Yeah, if it's like kind of a restructure scenario, which is like the other side of things, maybe it's not a transactional work, but a matter where, you know, we're doing like a share restructure or something like that. You know, it'll be financial advice from the accountant, but also on the legal side, we're always coming up with a solution for them. Do you know what I mean? Different options. And I think you know, it's about having that kind of experience and expertise to give them a different approach, a different side of things, make them think differently. I think that's what a good corporate lawyer does. I don't think it's, like I say, it's not just always about the law. I think the law is kind of like I say, it's a given, it's a tick box, you know,
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It depends exactly what you said. Going back to what you said about looking for either the larger corporate lawyer and they just want, a list of names and lots of people in the email, or that more personal service. I think that's where Myers and probably Pure Ideas are quite similar in that way. That I think our client profile is more about that sort of slightly more personal service where you're a bit more, the client feels a bit more a name rather than a number. And that they've got that sort of, I'm not saying the bigger corporates don't do this, but I think that's where we get very positive feedback from clients about feeling that they can just pick up the phone and they're not thinking, oh, am I going to get a bill for this because I've got what I think is a really silly question. And I think that's where there's a nice synergy between the two firms, really.
Yeah, and I mean, the larger corporates, this is not, it's not a negative against that, because actually sometimes you need that, you need a massive team to drive that transaction that are working till 4 a.m, etc. Because actually you need to get the deals done, and there is a place for that. But we aren't that, Justin. That's not what we are trying to do here. I suppose it goes back to that kind of, if I think about what we're looking to do with Myers, and what we're looking to do with this kind of corporate offering, it's kind of, at the moment, it's all about relationship building, that kind of trust and growing, do you know what I mean, something.
I was going to say the Match Group have got the bigger corporate lawyers within. That's the beauty of the group. We've got the ones that can tailor to those needs, and then we've got the more bespoke services and for the sort of the smaller clients. And I think that's what you've got to be able to service the needs of all the different types of client profile, haven't you? And
Yeah, and it's not one size fits all, because every business is very 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 different, and that's the point, isn't it? What one client is looking for might not be what the next client is looking for, and it's like all a very individual thing. And I suppose what I love about being a corporate lawyer is, I suppose I'm very nosy, so I like to get to know somebody's business, and get to know the nitty gritty of what they do and everything else, and the different personalities there, etc. And that's great. And by being kind of a small team, we can do that. We can do that right now, and that's kind of what we're building upon. It's nothing better than having like a fate. Staffage's still very much, you know, Staffordshire business like to use kind of local firms, etc. I do love that. There's that kind of real loyalty, and it seems to be really important around here. I know that other locations like that as well, but it seems to be a really important thing. And I still really like that. It's quite a kind of an old school approach. You still have the face-to-face meetings. Like, I love to go out to see clients, and I can do that here. To really get to know them, and that's how you really get to know clients, by going to their site, seeing what they make, see what they do, and getting to know the ins and outs of their business, really.
I totally agree. I mean, it's with, dare I say it, COVID, and that it's a bit of a dirty word these days, but that it has meant that a lot of people go sort of relied on Zoom and Teams and things like that. But I think what's really lovely, I mean, for us as a business, we work with clients worldwide because of the nature of IP. But when it is a more local client and you can go and meet them and actually shake their hand and see where they're based, it does change. I think the relationship is affected in a different way to the sort of over Teams. It's not to say it doesn't work, but I think it really makes a difference, doesn't it, to have that personal face to face.
Completely. And I think it's, so for me, having all my kind of clients and referrers, I've never practiced law in Staffordshire, although I'm Stoke born and bred, as you can probably tell by the accent. I've been away since I went to uni. I basically haven't I didn't come back. So I've never practiced law in this area. So it's a real kind of new thing for me. And a lot of my referrers they're everywhere, just whether they're sales agents or accountants, etc. In the northwest, all over the place. I think as a positive from COVID, that is as positive, I suppose, that actually it doesn't matter where clients are based at all. And I think that's really kind of changed for us in here at Myers over the past couple of years, because those clients can be, when we look now, we map it out, they're absolutely everywhere. Okay, we've got this kind of centre, if you like, here where the office is located, but ultimately they can be everywhere. And I still do a lot on Teams and Zoom, just by the nature of what we do. And that has to happen, because obviously I don't want to lose that kind of, those clients further afield. Like, why would, we don't need to lose them anywhere. And I suppose from a not client point of view, but from a recruitment point of view, how great is it now that we've got this kind of bigger talent pool to look from a selection process?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. because it gives you that ability to have people in your team that might know. Well, we've got it ourselves with a paralegal who's remotely based, but she's got excellent skills, and we wouldn't have been able, back in the old days, we wouldn't have been able to have somebody like that because they couldn't have come into the office, so that would have been a done deal. So I think there's some very positive things that have come out of COVID and the Teams environment and everything, or Zoom environment, depending on who you are. It all works really well. And I mean, in terms of sort of like how the brands, the benefits of sort of the collaborations, like between Pure Ideas and Myers, I can see that there'd be cross with us needing to cross refer our clients to you. How do you see that working across the group?
So I suppose for me, it's interesting. I've just been putting together kind of a series of business blogs that are talking about, people that might be thinking of an exit in say 5 to 10 years, etc., and that kind of housekeeping piece before you even decide to market the business, etc. The things that you need to think about. And I always think that IP is one of those things that kind of it's not thought about until you get to the due diligence stage of a transaction. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, we've not thought about this at all. And then you uncover all kinds of things, like who owns the IP and is it registered, is it unregistered, and all that, there's like a big thing there. So it's great to have, you guys as part of the group to say, actually, you know what, Mr. Client, please go and have a chat with them, do you know what I mean, and get kind of your ducks in a row, because there is that kind of cleaning up process. And like then I suppose if it does get to the due diligence stage where we do uncover some kind of issue, then I know that we've got you guys to say, well, look, please can you have a look at this? We need to deal with this really. So that's great, because before we used to have to kind of look to external out of group to do that, to do that kind of body of work for us, because it is very much you have your expertise. We don't dabble. You do what you do. But I'm not an IP lawyer, do you know what I mean? It's great to have someone to talk to.
And that's the same thing. We'll get a query and you just think, well, this isn't in our wheelhouse. Prior to being part of the group, I think it would have been, well, we try to help, but it's a bit like, well, why don't you go and look in a directory or on the internet? You don't necessarily know, and you don't want to recommend somebody that you just don't know, because you don't know what service they're going to get. And I think because MAPs are very careful about who they sort of select to be part of the MAPT group, you've got that confidence straight away of, well, I'm going to be sending this inquiry on to somebody else who is going to care and has the client at the heart of whatever they're doing. And I think that's the key thing for me. It's feeling that confidence that, yeah, there's a piece of litigation, I can look up, who's the right person and speak to them and introduce my client in potentially to somebody that I know is not going to just leave them dangling and wondering what's going on, and will manage their expectations.
And yeah, absolutely. And I think we were talking about before, weren't we, about that kind of client expectation piece. We probably, it is about kind of it's about setting that out right at the very beginning, isn't it? I think we're all quite good at that as a MAP service. Do you know what I mean? We understand the importance of setting those expectations from day one, whether it's fees or it's timescales or whatever it might be. I think we all know the importance of that. And in these kind of awkward conversations, it's not awkward for me to say to a client, look, I don't know, but actually I know somebody who will know. And that's great, isn't that? That's the power of MAP to say, okay, I can't help that, I'm very sorry, but actually you don't need to go anywhere, leave it with me. I'll make sure you get a phone, I'll make sure you get a phone call, we'll deal with this for you. And that's the joy of being part of this bigger group.
Yes. I mean, I remember speaking to a client not that long ago and sort of just saying, we're part of this group and we have all of these services. And it was like a light bulb moment. He said, this is fantastic. Could you give me some information on what other aspects you cover, which is pretty much across the board. But, so it was quite difficult to give him a sort of a direct answer. But just to be able to say, if there's something within your business, and they're quite a large organisation, don't hesitate to come to us and ask us.
And it's about having that phone call, so you want them to pick up the phone and ask the question. That's the thing. And I would hope that all our clients, I certainly hope that all the clients that we deal with here would pick up the phone in the first instance and say, like, who do you know? Just really, can you help with this? Who do you know?
Yeah, totally. So what's next for you then, Jen, in terms of your sort of your role there at Myers? Is it the sky's the limit?
Well, apart from taking over the world, Katia, At the moment, we are, because corporate has been basically, kind of left for a period of time, with nobody kind of out there, forming those important those key kind of relationships with accountants and referrers around this kind of local area. So at the moment, it's very much about building trust, building trust and building those relationships, because Myers Co, is really well established. Everybody knows the name. Certainly, a lot of clients still know the name Heaton. Do you know what I mean? So it really is part of the area, and I really like that. But it's making people think about Myers for business. So that's kind of the little pet project at the moment. Is doing that and growing that, really. So that's kind of what I'm busy doing right now, and it's great. It's like since March we've had a brilliant, however many months that is. It's really paid dividends to all the stuff that we've already done. Going to business expos, doing lots for the local chamber, loads and loads of different things with the local chamber, which is really good. Which is always a really great place to start, I think, when you're trying to build connections. It's a case of kind of reconnecting with the connections that are already using Myers, already know about Myers. So we're doing that reconnection piece. Then also there's so many kind of new avenues to go down and everything, and that's really exciting. So yeah, busy time. What about yourselves then?
So no, we've got challenges. We're of actually moving offices, still staying within the Stratford-upon-Avon area, but we're moving to a sort of a self-contained office, which will be really nice to have our own space, because we're in a shared space at the moment. So that's really nice, and I think that would be a sort of a new. Is it happening sort of around, I wouldn't want to say February time next year? We're quite new, obviously, to the Mapped Group. We were sort of the latest acquisition within the group. So although it's been a year now, I can't believe it's been a year already, but sort of September, October time. Really flown past, but absolutely loving being part of the group and finding that it's really nice to be working with like-minded people, I think. And I think it's really important to do these sorts of podcasts, because obviously it gives a bit of a exposure to the other brands within the business, and what we can all do to help our clients and promote that. So thank you very much, Jen, for your time today on this podcast. If any of the listeners want to sort of know more about corporate law and are interested in having a chat with Jen, then we will provide links at the end of the podcast so that you can reach out to Jen at Myers Co. Or if you've got any questions about intellectual property, patents, trademarks, or anything along those lines, then please do follow the links to Pure Ideas as well. But thank you very much for listening, and thank you, Jen.
Thanks, Katia.